All right, everyone, this is not a required meeting. This is optional. I'm here to have an opportunity to have some synchronous time, right? Which is time where we're both meeting in the same space at the exact same time to answer any questions you have. In the future, when we're getting more deep into the material, I might use this time to do some examples, right, of things that I'm looking for. But mostly this is a review session for you all. So I want to be here to answer any questions that you have. Now, I imagine at this point, being after 2020 now, we've had some experience with some online courses, it looks like, from the Online Learners Survey that most of us have. So I don't think this is your first rodeo with Zoom. But for my class, here are the requests that I make for Zoom. You do not need to have your video on. I understand that we are all in an unusual situation. You'll notice some of my videos I film from my car. I just can't do it in my house sometimes. If you feel uncomfortable with having the video on, that's fine. Of course, I do prefer that you do have the video on because I would love to see your face. It's easier for me as a communicator to understand how effective my communication is when I can read facial expressions and facial cues. Also, it's just a way to personally connect, right? As humans, I think we tend to do that. But I understand if you would feel less comfortable doing that. So there is no shame in having the video off, okay? I do ask, so I'm gonna put these kind of down as, I'll call them requests or preferences for Zoom conduct. Okay, so video on, please, but that's not a requirement, all right? The other thing I would say is stay muted until you have a question to ask or a comment to make. At that point, then you can unmute yourself. But let's say that you've got a burning question and you're concerned you might forget it, especially if I'm lecturing or if someone else is taking time to develop their thoughts and they have the floor, then please use the chat box as a parking lot. You can park your question there, all right? I think it's a great space to use that for. I do try to keep my eye on the chat as much as I can. Of course, whatever you do choose to ask or say, please make it relevant to the class content. All right, so those are my preferences for Zoom conduct. Other than that, though, I'd like to turn it over to you all. Does anyone have, first of all, I want to say welcome. It's really nice. I appreciate all of you for making the time today. Today's a big day for many reasons. Obviously the inauguration is foremost in my mind. But we're in the second week of our semester now, right? We're just beginning our journey together. So did anyone have any questions that they wanted to begin with about the syllabus, maybe about readings, anything like that at all? Yes, Tremaine.
How often will we be meeting on Zoom?
So I plan to do this every 2 weeks, okay? I'll do these bi-weekly check-ins, okay?
Will it be every Wednesday?
Well, I chose this time based on the Online Learners Survey, and it seemed like the most people said they could meet at this time. So that's why I went with this one. Of course, if things change, if I notice like attendance is low, then I can, put up a new poll and check in again. But as of right now, this seemed like the time that the most people could meet, and so I wanted to grab the most. All right. I do plan on recording these Zoom sessions, as you all know. I just hit the record button a couple of minutes ago. So that way, if you can't make the meeting, you can always replay it later, okay? And for those students that can't make the meeting because of work schedules or other reasons, they can view it themselves. Now, if I say, oh, we're going to have a Zoom meeting, and no one shows up, then I will have nothing to record, and so nothing will be posted. That was the case with another class that I had earlier today. No one attended, so there's nothing there. But I would say if I schedule a Zoom meeting, and of course, provided that people show up, I will always record it and I will always post it to our course website. Okay. So my hope every 2 weeks. Okay. And you can expect that when we have a writing assignment due, like for our class, our first writing assignment is due next week, week 3. Okay. I might, now that I'm saying it, I might schedule another one for next week. Okay. Because I want to be available to answer any, not exactly last second questions, but, have an opportunity for dialogue before something is due. Okay. So usually 2 weeks, but certainly before a writing assignment is due. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, other questions? And you can either raise your hand physically just by putting it up in front of the camera, or you can raise that blue hand that is in the participants section of your Canvas row of tabs if you would like to ask a question or make a comment. Yeah, go ahead, Tremaine.
I have a question about the writing assignment.
Yes.
It says that you have to use support from a sandwich.
That's the structure.
I've never heard that term.
Yes, yeah, I use that term to describe the structure of the support in a paragraph. Okay, so when you look at the lecture about making a point in a paragraph, which is the content for this week, you'll see the video, and the video has PowerPoint slides and it lists what are the parts of a support sandwich. And all I mean by that is, if you imagine a sandwich, a very simple sandwich, right? You've got 2 pieces of bread and you've got whatever it is that you're eating in the middle, the substance, right? So it's more of like a visual to help you remember the pattern that support should be presented in when you are writing a paragraph. So the top layer is context, which is, I'll leave it for the video to go into detail unless you would like that now. But context goes up top. Right below that or after that would be the evidence, like the quote from the novel, Ask the Dust, in this case, the one that we're reading. And then you follow that with analysis. That's like the bottom level of the sandwich. So that is what I mean by a support sandwich.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a metaphor here. I'm an English professor, so I gotta make it metaphorical here, right? This is something for you to consume intellectually, right? If I were to continue that. Yeah. Anyway, pardon the puns. Okay. Yeah.
I have another question. I was a little confused when it says in the writing assignment to make your claim. What do you mean by claim?
So that's in the lecture on making a point in a paragraph. I would recommend looking at that. But a claim is your topic sentence. And I really emphasize the word claim. And actually, I combine it when I say topic sentence claim. Sometimes when professors or writing instructors teach how to write a paragraph, they'll say, okay, you begin a paragraph with a topic sentence. But sometimes a topic sentence that is only descriptive is acceptable, right? So I'm trying to emphasize when we say a claim that you need to start the argument. You need to make a statement that is debatable, not factual, okay? So as I say in the lecture on making a point in a paragraph, if we were to say Arturo Bandini is Italian-American, okay, that would not be a good topic sentence in my mind because that's not debatable. That is a character trait. It is how he identifies himself. Although, as you will see with shame, right? So we can use facts to help us create an interpretation, and an interpretation can become a claim. Okay, but
something like Camila has a crush on Bandini.
Yeah, that is more factual, right? Yeah, you could maybe say it's a little debatable because the way she shows it, right? Seems a little bit off. But if you were to say something like, Arturo Bandini represents the American dream, That's debatable. That's not a fact. You would have to define what the American dream is. You'd have to apply it to the evidence that you have in the story, right? Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, what we want to try and do is not start a paragraph with facts, because that leads to one of two kinds of paragraphs. It either leads to a long list of facts, right? And you're like, where is this going? Okay. Or it ends with the fact. That's it. It's like, what else do I say next? Right. So we have to start practicing taking a stand, right? Making a statement that is debatable. Okay. Um, we will work on this. This is an important skill that will take the whole semester for us to develop mastery. Okay. So if it's uncomfortable right now, that's okay. We're just starting this together. Okay. And I don't know what your writing experiences are before, but that's why we begin with a little writing assignment. Okay. But you'll start to see as we grow with our writing assignments and our skills that claims appear in different parts of our papers. You know, your thesis statement is a kind of claim. That's the biggest claim in the whole paper, right? It's the statement that directs everything. Topic sentences are claims too. Okay.
Okay.
So this first assignment, what I call a mini essay, is really just a body paragraph. That's it. It's not an essay. There's no introduction, there's no conclusion. All I want to see is how do you do with one body paragraph? How do you practice making a claim? How do you practice supporting that claim? Okay. Um, so yeah, look at that lecture on making a point.
I looked at it and I read through it, but it still didn't make complete sense.
That's fine. Yeah, no, well, you know what we need is repetition too and
Mhm.
practice, right? That's where the writing comes in. Is, you know, one thing is us hearing something or maybe even seeing some examples, but we really learn a lot more when we jump in and do it, right? And that's what the purpose of writing assignment next week is, you know. So you'll
Mhm.
share with me what you understood from the lecture,
Uh-huh.
and then I'll give you feedback on it. Okay. And as I
Okay.
say in the syllabus, I write out the feedback for this first mini essay. Okay, because I want you all to see how I think, right? And as I say in week one, writing is thinking, right? So you'll see, what do I want to see more of? What did I highlight? What'd you do well? Okay.
Okay.
But I'll tell you more about that next week when we talk about grading the mini essay. So thank you for the questions. Yeah, did anyone else, were there any other ideas that came up in writing a paragraph for others that um, you would like to discuss a little bit more? How about questions about the reading? How is it going with Ask the Dust?
I'm enjoying it.
You're enjoying it? Good. Okay.
Yeah.
What do you like
Chapter
about it?
chapter 4 was really funny to me.
Can you
um,
remind me of what happens in chapter 4? I don't have my book with me. Great model
um,
professor, right? Where's your book? I don't have one. I
um,
left it in my office.
it was when Bandini's neighbor came over.
Oh,
Well, the
Helfrich.
highlight of it was when Bandini's neighbor came and told him the milkman was gonna come.
Oh, that one.
He
Yes.
wanted to go steal some milk, and Bandini was going back and forth the entire night and praying and
Right.
asking for forgiveness and not to do it. And at the end, he ended up doing it, and it turned out to be buttermilk and not like actual milk.
Right. Right. Yeah, he
So I
hemmed and hawed about something. He imagined it to be one thing and it turned out to be another. Yeah. That's, I'm really
yeah.
glad that you mentioned that one, right? So like for your, so for mini essay one, you're going to have to write about a different character, right? You'd have to use one of the minor characters, someone not Arturo, right? But for the big essay that we're going to do after mini essay one, you want to pay attention to moments like that, right? Where Arturo experiences all this guilt. Um, Sorry, everyone, I got a message that my internet connection is unstable. Are you hearing me okay? Can you give me a thumbs up with the reaction signs if everything's okay? Melissa, yeah, everyone, Amy, good. Mitzi, thank you. And Isaac, good. All right. Um, so yeah, that chapter is a really good one, right? And I think if I remember right, the neighbor is paying back a debt that he owes Arturo, right? Arturo's kind of loaned him some money, and Arturo's poor himself. He really has very, very little money. Which means that it's tough for him to give or to share, but it also means he's starving and he wants food. So either way, that moment could have been analyzed, or can be analyzed, I should say, for what it tells us about Arturo, right? What do we learn about him? And that's kind of the question I want you to have in your mind as you all are reading this, right? Whenever there are moments in the story, and they can be moments that are significant, or as I've asked you all to pay attention to in this week's discussion board, strange, right? Don't run away from the strange moments in the story. There are plenty of them, okay? You'll meet a character named Vera Rivkin in about chapter 7 or chapter 8, and she's kind of like a ghost. She just floats into the story, and then she just floats out very abruptly, right? But we want to ask ourselves in those moments, what do we learn about Arturo from an interaction like this? Okay, what aspects of his character and the way that he thinks? Okay, that'll be the subject for essay 1, the bigger paper. Okay, is how does Arturo's mind develop over the course of the novel? So the buttermilk episode is a good example of that. Arturo meeting with Vera, his strange encounter with her is also very informative. So stick to the stuff that stands out to you too, okay? For better or for worse, right? So, I mean, you don't have to like Arturo, okay, at all, especially in the first half of this novel, okay? I'll say it like this: I would not be friends with Arturo Bandini if he were a real person, okay? I think I have more of an interest in him as a literary character, right? And that's something that we can learn from. So anyway, good. Let's see. So we've talked a little bit about Ask the Dust. By the way, this is, I don't know if you can see, can you all see this, the book that I'm holding in my hand? This is the Food Matters book. This is the next one that you will need, okay? There are multiple editions of this book. By that, I mean, one was published in 2014, I think. The one that I'm holding here is from 2016 or 2017. This is the one that you want. The most recent one, I think, is 2020, okay, or 2019. Don't get the most recent one, get the second edition, all right? We will begin this, I think, in week 5. We spend the first 4 weeks reading Ask the Dust, but I tell you this now because students forget to purchase this, and then they don't think about it until week 5, and then they realize we're done with Ask the Dust and I've got to do the reading. This is for the midterm, okay? So we use Ask the Dust for your first essay, but Food Matters we will be writing about for our midterm. So please make a note to get this edition, and feel free to contact me if you have any questions about it. Okay. So, week 1 was getting to know this class a little bit, mostly focused on how do we communicate on the discussion boards, right? And the bottom line is we have to understand a spectrum of communication from passive to assertive to aggressive, right? If we don't communicate what we think, feel, or need, then we're being passive, and that doesn't help anyone, right? I don't have telepathic abilities. I can't read minds, but it does matter to me to hear what you have to say, and that's where being assertive comes in. So once you choose to speak, then it's how do you speak, right? And assertiveness is just making sure that you state what you think in a way that's still respectful. And that doesn't mean respect isn't agreement. Respect is acknowledging someone else's perspective and putting your own perspective in a way that doesn't judge the other perspective. When we are being judgmental, then that's when we are being more aggressive in our speech. And I can't tolerate that in this classroom, because then how do we grow if we don't feel safe enough to share our ideas? Okay, so that's my main line. I mean, look, I'll speak for myself. I run that full spectrum every day, from passive, assertive, aggressive. Ask my family. You know, I do everything I can to not be aggressive and to not be passive, and I try to stay in that assertive spot as much as possible. But we're all human and we get triggered. Now, the great thing is about writing, or at least a discussion board, is you have the power to not hit post or publish, right? So if you get triggered by something that you read or see, I totally believe you should write it out, okay? Get your words out and explore, what is it that bothers me so much about what my classmates said, or possibly what I read in the novel, okay? I would not write it out in the discussion board because you could accidentally hit publish when you don't mean to. I just had this conversation with my wife. She had a very strongly worded email that she chose not to send to someone, but she wrote it out in the email and she almost hit send. So I think writing is good. Just choose a spot where you can get the ideas out, and then, you know, practice a little editing for assertiveness. Okay, where am I taking a stand on what I believe? How is this stand not in any way disrespecting the others? So, you know, and if you're ever uncertain, you can email me, all right, and I'll help you. You know, okay. So we're coming down to the end of our time here. We've talked about Ask the Dust. We've talked about our first mini essay and how to write a paragraph. Any other questions before we leave today? No? Amy? Yeah, Mitzi, go ahead. No? Okay, all right, you're all good. Melissa, Isaac, any questions? No? All right. Well, it was a pleasure seeing your faces, having your presence here on the Zoom meeting. And like I said, anytime you have a question, email me. Okay. I've made it a priority to respond to email communications as quickly as I can, because we don't get to meet face to face, and we can't just casually run into each other on campus, right? So many times students' questions got answered because they lingered after class, or I ran into them in the hallway, right? We don't have that. We really have to be proactive with our communication. So you got a question, don't hesitate, email me. I will get back to you as quickly as I can. Okay, Mitzi, do you have a question now? All right, go ahead, unmute yourself.
Okay, sorry. So I have another class and they use the app Pronto.
Yes.
Where it are you gonna use that for this class? Because I know it did come up as my class, but I know nobody's used it.
I don't use
Is
it.
that something you're gonna encourage?
No,
Okay.
I don't plan to. I really don't know how to use it. I know that my colleagues started to use it in spring of 2020 as a way of communicating. Have you used it yet, or do you
Yes.
just, yeah, how do
It's
you like it?
basically like a class chat where if you have
Okay.
a question or something, you just type it in and it's just everybody can answer and respond to each other. It's basically like a big class chat.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So that sounds to me like what we already have in Canvas, which is the chat function where I hold office hours. Let me show you all this. Mitzi, thank you for bringing this up. This is very, very helpful. All right. So can you all see my screen? Should be a roster of our
Yes.
class. Okay. So I'm going to go here to the left where it says chat. As soon as it loads, you'll see that this is where I'll write in a message here letting you know I've checked in for office hours, okay? Anything that I write here or anything that any of your classmates write here is visible to everyone, okay? So let's say, you know, Mitzi, you had a question about, well, let's just say you wanted to talk about Arturo drinking that buttermilk and you were like, what is going on here, okay? And see if your classmates had a response to it, right? And let's say it was a subject not relevant to the discussion board, but you just wanted other perspectives on it. Feel free to put that in here, okay? I'll see it. I only log in to the chat. There's no login, but I only open up chat during my office hours, okay, which are Mondays and Wednesdays from 8 to 9 and Tuesdays from 2 to 3. So I won't see it until then, okay? So if you want me to answer a question quickly, email me, okay? But if you want to kind of cast a big net and see what everyone has to say about something, or just see kind of who will respond, this is a great place to answer that, or to pose that question, right? Like if you're uncertain, like, hey, do we have to turn this mini essay into turnitin.com, or do we just use a Canvas link? You know, you can post that here, right? And any of your classmates or myself will get to it, okay? So I won't be using Pronto. It sounds like it does the same thing as what this Canvas chat already does too.
Yeah, it's just since it's an app, it's like straight on the phone, so you get the notifications right away.
There you go.
So like,
Okay.
got a message or something, and then everybody's available to see it.
Perfect. Okay. So it is a quicker notification. Well, how about this? I will create a poll for our class, okay, like the online learners survey. And if there's interest in Pronto, you guys vote on it. And if there's enough, majority, then I'll learn how to use it and we'll put it there. Okay. How's that sound? Okay.
Okay.
All right. Great. Okay. Any other questions before we head out? Nope. Okay. Thank you all for your time. I will be posting this recording. I'll probably post it as soon as it's converted. It will have captions probably in like a day or two. Okay. But thank you all for your time. I wish you all a good week, and I'll see you at the next Zoom session. Take care. Bye-bye.